product in history. The story of debt. This is Histrofinance, where we uncover the hidden forces shaping economies, markets, and everyday lives. Today, we explore one of humanity's most powerful inventions, not a weapon or a machine, but something far more invisible and enduring: debt. Debt is the only product that creates profit without producing anything tangible. It fuels economies, builds empires, and destroys them. It has funded wars, enslaved nations, and quietly drained the wealth of ordinary people. Yet most of us never question where it came from, who designed it, or why it dominates our lives. The ancient roots of obligation. Debt, in its simplest form, is a promise. You borrow today and agree to pay tomorrow. But behind that promise lies power. The ability to charge interest turns time itself into profit. This idea is ancient. In Mesopotamia, over 4,000 years ago, farmers recorded debts on clay tablets. But rulers also understood its danger. When too many citizens were trapped in debt, the system collapsed. So they declared debt jubilees, wiping the slate clean to restore balance. The Hebrew Bible carried the same lesson. Every 50 years, debts were to be forgiven. Because when debt becomes unpayable, it doesn't just destroy lives. It destroys societies, from sin to strategy for centuries. Charging interest, usury, was condemned as immoral. The Catholic Church banned it in medieval Europe, believing money should not breed money. Yet merchants and bankers found clever ways around the rules. Loans were disguised as trade contracts, interest hidden in exchange rates or service fees. By the Renaissance, the practice had gone from sin to science. Banking families like the Medici of Florence mastered the art of lending. They financed popes, kings, and merchants, and in return, gained immense political influence. For the first time, money itself became power. Wealth was no longer tied to land or labor but to the flow of credit. The birth of national debt. Real transformation came in the 17th century, when the Dutch Republic fought for independence from Spain. It raised money by selling government bonds to its citizens. These bonds could be traded like property, allowing the Dutch to finance wars without draining their treasury. England soon copied the idea. In 1694, the Bank of England was created, a central institution that lent money to the state and issued notes backed by that debt. From then on, governments didn't just borrow in emergencies, they lived on debt. This changed everything. War could now be financed indefinitely, and bankers who managed government loans became essential to the state. Debt evolved from private contracts into the foundation of modern power. Profit without production. Lending to governments was the safest and most profitable business in the world. A king might default, but a nation could always raise taxes. As empires expanded, debt financed exploration, conquest, and trade. By the 18th and 19th centuries, bond markets in London, Paris, and Amsterdam were the beating heart of global finance. Armies marched, ships sailed, and colonies were conquered, all on borrowed money. But debt didn't stop with nations. The Industrial Revolution transformed it into a tool for building railroads, factories, and cities. Capitalism itself was powered by credit. Workers earned wages from companies funded by debt, and then borrowed to buy homes and goods, feeding the same machine that employed them. Debt seeped into every layer of life. Debt for the masses. By the 20th century, debt had become the everyday product. Mortgages, car loans, credit cards, student loans. Borrowing was no longer a privilege but a norm. The dream of home ownership, education, and prosperity was sold through contracts of obligation. And here lies the genius, or cruelty, of the system. Debt generates profit again and again. Every monthly payment transfers wealth from the many to the few. Unlike a product you buy once, debt is designed to last, to keep you paying. A house with a 30-year mortgage can cost double or triple its price. A credit card balance rolled over for months can grow faster than income. What begins as opportunity often becomes entrapment. Debt requires no factory, no materials, no innovation. It creates money from promises, and those who control those promises control the world. Debt is global power. After World War II, the world entered the Bretton Woods era. The International Monetary Fund (IMF) and the World Bank were created to lend money to nations in crisis or development. But these institutions did more than help, they disciplined. Loans came with conditions: privatization, austerity, spending cuts. Countries that borrowed too much found their economic policies dictated not from their own capitals, but from Washington and Basel. Debt became a form of political leverage, a way to shape nations without firing a single shot. Meanwhile, in the developed world, banks discovered an even larger market: ordinary citizens. The post-war boom brought mortgages, installment plans, and credit cards into every household. Debt was rebranded as progress. Buy now, pay later. For banks, it was a gold mine. Millions of households making regular payments created a river of interest income. For governments, it fueled apparent growth even as wages stagnated. And for corporations, it guaranteed endless demand. People could keep spending money they didn't have. Debt was no longer just an economic tool. It was the engine of modern capitalism. The addiction deepens. Financial industry soon realized that debt itself could be sold. Banks began securitizing loans, bundling mortgages, car loans, and corporate debt into complex instruments that investors could trade. Risk was supposedly spread out, but in reality, it was hidden, waiting for the next crisis. That crisis came in 2008. Trillions of dollars in mortgage-backed securities collapsed when homeowners defaulted. The financial system, built on layers of leverage, nearly imploded. Governments stepped in not to punish the guilty, but to rescue them. Banks were bailed out. Ordinary citizens lost homes, jobs, and savings, and yet, instead of reducing debt, the world doubled down. Central banks slashed interest rates to zero, pumping cheap money into the system to stimulate growth. But all it really did was encourage even more borrowing. Debt had become indispensable, the oxygen of the global economy. Without it, the machine would suffocate. A world built on borrowed time today. Global debt exceeds $300 trillion, more than 3 times the world's total economic output. Never before in history has humanity owed so much to so few. Politicians celebrate rising GDP, but much of that growth is simply borrowed from the future. A 20-year-old taking on student loans, a family signing a 30-year mortgage, a government running permanent deficits, all are part of the same story. Debt as destiny. Inflation silently makes repayment possible by devaluing money, a hidden tax that benefits debtors with assets while eroding the savings of everyone else. What looks like prosperity is often just leverage upon leverage. The financial industry has turned this into an art form. Debt is now traded, rated, insured, and bet upon. Entire markets exist just to speculate on the likelihood of default. Hedge funds buy distressed debt, profiting from collapse. Credit rating agencies decide which countries or companies are allowed to borrow cheaply, and which must pay a premium. Debt is no longer just a tool, it's an ecosystem, feeding itself. Inequality by design. Most striking feature of this system is how it concentrates wealth. Every interest payment is a small transfer from debtor to creditor, from the many to the few. Over time, this funnels vast sums upward, entrenching inequality. Those with assets can borrow cheaply to buy more, compounding their advantage. Those without assets borrow expensively. Trapped in cycles of repayment, debt becomes both a mirror and a mechanism of class division, legitimized by the very institutions that profit from it. The next evolution, digital debt. As central banks explore central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, debt is entering a new phase. Imagine money that is programmable, traceable, and controllable. Loans approved or denied automatically by algorithms. Interest rates adjusted in real time. Penalties enforced instantly through code. Too many. This promises efficiency, but history warns otherwise. Efficiency for creditors often means less freedom for debtors. The most profitable product in history is being upgraded for the digital age, one where control can be coded directly into the currency itself. The hidden truth lesson of history is clear. Debt is not neutral. It's not a mere financial convenience, nor an unavoidable part of progress. It is a product, deliberately cultivated because it is the most profitable business ever created. Debt turns time into money, hope into interest payments, and freedom into obligation. It converts human potential into predictable streams of revenue. Thanks for watching. If you found this eye-opening, make sure to subscribe to Histro Finance for more stories that uncover the hidden forces shaping money, power, and history. Hit the like button, share this video, and comment below with the topics you want us to explore next. See you in the next video.